if I could react just a moment, and that is that, you know, I hear what you say, but you still have to have that right person for those performance metrics and the checkpoints to be worthwhile. And what happened last time with the best of intentions was that there was someone who loved racing and knew racing and that people regarded highly, but he'd never run a racetrack and had never developed businesses. And so everyone, including that vendor, were hopeful that it would all happen. And it didn't. And so for me, but I think for a lot of people, knowing that we could, you've done a really good job of saying, we're lowballing all those numbers. If it didn't grow at all, we could make it work. Otherwise, it would go faster. The bonds would be paid off faster. The person would make more money. We'd have more. That's all good. But making sure that we've got somebody that really could grow it, not just flatline it and get us through 11 years, I think is important to a lot of people. Okay. So thank you again.
I would like to proceed with the public comment, if we could, at this point. And just a background on that, we are sitting as the city council, so the rules and regulations of the city council guide how the public comment is handled. We have 9 persons who have signed up to speak. And the important point is you are presenting your views to the council as a whole. This is not a time for question and answer, or comments are not directed to individuals, but it's a time to share your views to the council as a group. And you have the 4-minute time limit for that. The first person is Charles Hanna.
Honorable Mayor.
Could you speak, just go to your right a bit to get close to the microphone?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Honorable Mayor, honorable members of the commission, thank you for letting me speak here tonight. One thing you said, my friend, was that I had wrote up, and now it's going to, a few words that you said, so I didn't copy you. Build it, and they will come. Heartland Park is built. It's out there right now. It's a large facility with the potential to generate more with the correct promotion. Yes, and that's the key, promotion. Yes, racing will be the backbone of the operation, but the ease of getting to Heartland Park, the access to it from the interstate highways, the turnpike, is a great piece of property. The paved roads that are out there, it's an easy thing to get to. I want to mention that fact. This would offer other venues to utilize Heartland Park, such as concerts, track and field events, large swap meets, car shows, driving schools, test facility for manufacturing, and of course a place for brands of cars to entertain their customers and sell them on performance. Imagination is the key that leads to promotion, and for this is what's needed to make Heartland Park very profitable for all in the community. Build it and they will come. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's built, promote it, and it will pay off many times over. I thank you very much for listening to me. I applaud you for what you do here. It's been very interesting. I think you all do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Hanna. Jay Tuckness.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for laughing. I apologize for that. I'd like to start off with a couple of things. These first comments will focus on the core first. Please, thank you. I'd like to comment my questions on focus on core first role in this debacle. First one would be the additional star bonds being considered by the city will be used to bail out Core First Bank for bad decisions, or loan decisions. The second question, will the Core First has not pursued collection on these loans it made to Ray Irving that are now in default? I'm surprised the federal people, oversight on the bank, haven't got after the bank. As CoreFirst has not treated all of its loan customers equally. Ray Urban has been given special treatment not offered to others with loans from CoreFirst Bank. How many legal actions has CoreFirst initiated against other loan customers during the same time period that Ray Urban has been in default on these loans made to him by the CoreFirst? Why hasn't CoreFirst pursued the terms of the personal guarantee made by Ray Urban on the loan made to him? Why is CoreFirst entitled to full restitution for the amount of the bad loans plus penalties, interest, and other expenses? CoreFirst contributed to the current work dilemma, yet CoreFirst is giving up nothing. Most work out of problem loans require the lender to accept something less than full restitution. Ray Urban claims to have repaid loans made by his personal trust to fund the track operations. Why weren't payments made to CoreFirst Bank before the payments to Ray Urban's personal trust? I can attest, since I'm also involved with CoreFirst on a $300 collection, I brought to your attention certified court documents of the judicial, as you say, corruption, in my opinion. And if you really wanted to look into it, you could probably find out, even contact me. I think I have certified court documents, okay? That's just $300. They've built it for 27 years and no one's come. Now this new person here that's showing up, if he thought it was worth such wonderful money, Mr. Chris Pine, why didn't he just come forth with a $15 million check? If there's real money there, you'd have to have bodyguards to protect you because they'd be in there wanting to get that track. On Sunday's paper, they talked about $8.2 million in personal property taxes against mom and pop. This is how much paperwork I had to generate in my last successful bid against the Board of Tax Appeals, okay? Mom and pop and nursing homes and wheelchairs, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, they can't fight back, okay? These big pie in the sky stuff that they come up with, these statistics never lie. They never lie. I wouldn't bet my life on it. The CDU, Condition Desirability Utility, Computer Assisted Mass Appraisal, Sales Completion Man Approach, MRA, Multiple Regression Analysis. They just stack the deck as they want. I mentioned fraudulent concealment in a house across the street that was sold for $23,000 less. And this is not transparency in government. They just go in there and they pump it to you. And this $8.2 million in property taxes was mentioned in the Sunday paper. The people that's really made money on this are the people back there that sold to you in 2005 and got the money. Like to say, show me the money. Build it, they'll come. They haven't come. And this man here, the one councilman said he's only been in business for two months. He sounded like a person that might be pretty smart. But you do now have the possibility, if maybe we could find RICO in here too under Title 18 if we look deep enough, and you now have somebody telling you that we've got corruption. I've seen a lot of hand waving and boogalooing, but nothing's come of it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Tuckness. Next is Chuck Levin. I'm certain I didn't pronounce your name correctly. You would correct me.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, executive staff, the city offices. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Chuck Levan. It's nice to meet you again. The reason why I came to visit with you all this evening is we are beyond the purposes of making a decision. And there are still a lot of people in the community that have had some grave concerns about how we got to the decision, some of the decisions we made in the past that are still being questioned. But you did a great job tonight, in my opinion, of kind of laying out some of the things that I had questions about because it was just unclear in the myriad of paperwork that I've looked at and the newspapers and whatnot. However, in the normal day-to-day work that you go about in the city offices and the week-to-week jobs that we do here in City Council, there has to be a cost incurred for how we restructure this new $5 million STAR bond. And those costs are something that I haven't felt or haven't seen what we've talked about, what that costs the city in time and fees and penalties as we move forward. So that's still an open question in my mind of something that I didn't see addressed tonight, and if I missed it somehow, I apologize. Additionally, something that I was concerned about that I would hope that you could answer at some point is, what is the vision for the city in South Topeka? It was brought up right at the end that the new investor has these grand ideas. Now, living in South Shawnee County for 13 of the 20 years that I've lived in this county, planes, trains, and automobiles was in my backyard for that whole time. So I'm well aware of when Heartland Park, Topeka has been busy and when it's not, okay? As well as when the train schedule is, as well as when Forbes is doing drill. So with that being said, not a whole lot of new development has occurred in there. And when we developed the Star Bond, we admitted freely tonight, and maybe recently in the past, that we didn't do that exactly right. And we had some blue sky concept there. And I could basically count the new buildings that have been built south of 45th Street on about like 6 fingers, okay? Between the Target Center, Beambo's, the Honda distributor that was a failed strip club, the new Tractor Supply, the Hotel Super 8, and Subway, and then Mars, we really have not had a cogent concept of what we want in that area. If, for example, when we talk about the Legends in Kansas City, okay, one of the things that they did was they had really nice shopping centers and other things for people to do. I would hope that as we move forward, and if we make the decision to do this, which I still am not sure that I would support, that we have a vision for Topeka in there so that it grows. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Frank Weetham.
Mayor, Council, get over here. Mayor, Council, thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm going to keep mine's pretty short and sweet, but my name is Frank Weetham. I live in Council District Number 7. Elaine and I've talked before. As a taxpayer, I would prefer the issuing of the Star bonds instead of the property tax increase. I hope that from what I heard tonight, that we may see our property taxes be reduced if the Star bonds go through. Also, am the regional executive of the Kansas Region Sports Car Club of America, which we currently have 348 members. Kansas Region members live throughout the city. The Kansas Region SCCA is asking you to support Heartland Park. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Brian Cohn. I think they're separate. I think the other ones that just come out there.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Cohn. I'm a former resident of Topeka, and I am, currently residing in Lawrence. I am an executive in the motorsports industry. I'm speaking tonight to make you aware of how successful motorsports in general is in the Midwest. I raced here personally when Heartland Park opened, and I am the current motorsport racing car driver on an amateur basis. And I travel throughout the Midwest to events. I study the industry extensively because it's part of my job. And I look at tracks not only that are successful, but also that have failed and have been reborn. And currently, throughout the Midwest, we are seeing in a lot of respects, a rebirth, but also growth in places as far away as Brainerd, Minnesota, which is 2.5 hours north of Minneapolis, that has staggeringly big events as far as drag racing, road racing, motorcycles, etc. And it is nowhere near civilization. Okay? I'm being serious. I'm going there July 4th weekend. It is nowhere near civilization. There's a very successful track in Hallett, Oklahoma, which is 45 minutes west of Tulsa, in the middle of nowhere. Literally nowhere. You couldn't hit anything with a shotgun except maybe a bird. Okay, and it is hugely successful as well. St. Louis was mentioned last week, last week the St. Louis track was mentioned where it failed and it was reborn. It too is going to be what is now currently very successful. I feel that Heartland Park will be successful with the right management. I think the city manager and his team have done an excellent job of choosing with the current letter of intent. And I think the city can have a successful facility going forward with the right management running the facility. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Greg Buchanan.
Good evening. My name is Greg Buchanan. I am a resident of Topeka, have been for about 30 years now. A lot of this comes down, it seems to me, that we're talking about economic development. And what better way to look at it is look at the mission statement for places like Go Topeka. They say they're big on economic development. I just found out tonight, I guess, that Visit Topeka is a separate entity, but yet they derive their funds from bed tax, which they do not generate themselves, but I believe the city has to approve that. So if we think about economic development, main things that most people look for in a community are low crime rate, good schools, reasonable housing, good infrastructure, and we're getting there, and low taxes. Of course, businesses are also looking for a viable workforce. But low taxes is a paramount item, I think, on most people's list, especially mine. I am like a lot of people in this city now. I am retired. That 1.7% increase doesn't go very far, folks. When you raise 3% increase here, water bill went up, the Westar's going up, all the rest. So my concern is, how do we find a better way of doing this? Maybe instead of giving $900,000, which I believe is the figure that Mr. Ledbetter gave last Tuesday, that goes to the Chamber of Commerce from Go Topeka, maybe we can persuade them to help pay for the Star Bond that way. I also have a question, and it concerns me. I haven't seen it addressed yet. You have the old Star Bond area, and you have a new Star Bond area. If you look at just the new Star Bond area, all those tax dollars, if you have this approved, that tax dollars is going to go to the Star Bonds. What happens to the revenue that it was already generating that's part of your Topeka budget? Has anybody figured a way to come up and cover that other than increase my property tax? And just for the record, I took the petition around for the Heartland Park to get the issue on the ballot. I talked to 110 people. I kept a list. I had 5 people tell me that they did not have enough information. They didn't want to sign. I had 4 people tell me that they were in favor of the city's stand. I had one lady tell me she didn't want to buy magazines from me. Go figure. So, but the other 100 people signed the petition, and in part because I think there was lack of transparency, but they were not wanting the city to be in the race car business or track business. So all I can tell you is what those people told me. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Leo Hafner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I really don't know where to start. My real comment is, oh my gosh, after hearing what went on tonight. I have to thank Councilwoman Ortiz for taking up half of my questions, because as she was pointing out, there's been information that's been dribbling out about this thing over time, and it is surprising to people. And it was clear to me from watching the film of the March 18th meeting when the mayor and Mrs. Ortiz seemed to be surprised about the projects and the $5 to $7 million that was going to be put into the thing. Those are basic things that I think you all ought to know, and you all are being asked to vote on this in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And yet we're hearing, oh, we're going to be negotiating contracts later. Who in their right mind votes for something and doesn't know what the contracts say? That just baffles me. I can't believe anybody can proceed on that basis. We've heard, apparently Councilwoman Hiller was more impressed with the new guy today than what I read in the paper, because I would like to hear things like, this is a high net worth individual, this person has developed this, that, and the other thing, and whatever. What the paper said is he's associated with this, and he's associated with that. Well, he was a partner in KCIR. Was he a 50% partner? Was he a 10% partner? I don't know. How long? I'd like to know some of those details. And then to learn tonight that we didn't look at the financials on Heartland Park. That goes to what the value of that place is and what it might be worth to somebody. I mean, there are just so many issues here that have been unanswered. And if this guy is so good and he has all of these fine ideas and he wants to buy the place, he said he's had it on his radar for a while, he's going to have to invest $5 to $7 million anyway. Sell it to him for the $5 to $7 million. Then you've got Irwin paid off, you've got Core First paid off, you've got your new operator, which you want, and he's going to be so good because the newspaper said he's going to breathe life into this. So he's going to do this so well, that'll pay off the bonds too, because he's going to develop all of this stuff out there. So problem solved. That's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Chris Emming.
Good evening, Council. My name's Chris Emming, 5913 Southwest 10th Terrace in Topeka, lifelong Topeka resident. I'm going to feel a little bit like Mr. Ledbetter here. I apologize for handing something out, but he always hands something out, so I figure I should. I made some notes, and in 4 minutes we won't be able to cover them all, and there's more questions tonight, frankly, than I could include on this, but I'll make a point. The amended plan is something that only you all as a body can adopt. No one else can say what that $5 to $7 million is. Everything about the amended plan up until August was acquisition of property. No mention of all these other improvements. And that's just a fact. You are the only ones that can amend the plan. The mayor mentioned that, as the other speaker did, that you hadn't seen those improvements on the March 17th meeting, hadn't seen those, and made a comment about the off-the-wall improvements. So it's obviously you hadn't seen it at that time. I was surprised, since you can only approve the amended plan. The issue of the 50% limitation on the current project is an interesting question, and I think I'll be surprised if Mr. Sublette, given his knowledge, doesn't come up with the same sort of answer. But 10.4 million of star bonds. The last city audit, and actually there's an audit done every year. And if you didn't know that, there is an audit done every year. 17.4 million of eligible expenses as of October 1st last year. 10.4 is more than 50% of 17.4. But there's only a difference of 3.4 million to meet the requirement. So your new operator's got to match the 5 million of new star bonds if you do that, plus 3.4 million, total of 8.4 million. So that's significantly different than the 5 million figure that's been thrown around. That you talked about the map, and I think the maps have always been kind of interest to me. And your maps have been showing consistently that Walmart is in this district. You mentioned Bozarth, but you haven't talked about Walmart at all, and I think there's a reason for that. Are the Walmart revenues included in the calculations of the increment? I know the answer is no, but you need to check that out. If Walmart is in the district, they're in the district. I don't think the KDOC secretary has, in my opinion, the ability to decide who's in and who's out. Because if he can decide Walmart's out, he can decide Bozarth's out, or anybody else. I would ask that you consider that, because that is really a significant issue. The Walmart impact you adopted, all your maps consistently show Walmart as in. So you've got to include them in your calculations. I don't think you can exclude them. And I have an email from Kador that says that's the case as well. So if somebody tells you different, you need to ask them. And I'll just wrap up. There is a simple solution to this. Let Core First, it's not a foreclosure. They just have to walk in and ask for the deeds, and they can do that tomorrow. And they've got the property. Then they can sell it to Mr. Payne. Everybody moves down the road. Mr. Sublett knows the problem with that, but I think KDOC could be convinced to expand the district and solve that problem. That's the extent of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Nick Scott.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Nick Scott. I'm a Topeka resident. I'm here tonight to ask you to issue star bonds for the purchase of Heartland Park. Everyone here agrees that the situation with Heartland Park is bad. No one denies that. But issuing the star bonds is in the best interest of the Topeka taxpayers. The star bond option prevents the best value to Topeka taxpayers, so please, let's move forward and issue the star bonds. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That concludes our item on the item 6B on the Heartland Park Redevelopment District. Next item on the agenda is announcements. Next week is the fourth Tuesday of the month, so there is no preliminary agenda to review. So we will go to the announcements of the council members and the city manager. We start with you. All right, then we go to Mr. Harmon. Mrs. Hiller.
I just want to quickly thank everyone for the election for deputy mayor last week. I appreciate that and take the responsibility seriously. Along those lines then, moving right along, everybody should have received their committee selection sheet by email earlier today. You can get those returned if you haven't already to Angela later this evening, or at least by close of business tomorrow. I should be able to get those committee assignments done by the end of the week so that we can move on. If you have questions, feel free to ask Angela or me or anybody who's been around about the committees or about that service. Also wanted to encourage, follow up on Nikki's suggestion earlier that if you look at those dates for the budget meetings, for the council budget meetings, and you have a problem with those we plan them all to be 3-hour meetings. They could be less. Generally, we make sure they're not more, but when you look at that, please let us know so that we can optimize everybody's attendance. Other than that, so just some quick things that we usually do. I'm excited to report that the new share bikes are comfortable to ride, and I've seen people tooling around on them again since our maiden voyage last week. Appreciated the message from the zoo today. I'm excited to see the new giraffe as well. And it was a privilege to be part of the cheering section on the levees today in Oakland when the levee improvements, the first phase, were announced, and the mayor did a sterling job in running all sorts of facts about the levees themselves and the river that were helpful. So that's it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Claire.
I only have one announcement of coffee on your corner tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the pad on North Topeka Boulevard.
Right. Very good. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Way to go on the levee, Mr. Mayor. Good job. I just want to say, I don't know how I'll be voting on May 5th, but I do know one thing. I'll be voting no if I don't have a signed operating agreement from Shelby in front of me before the 5th. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Shum.
I appreciate everyone's attendance tonight, everyone sticking through parts of the meeting and through all the meeting. The one takeaway that I hope we all take away from this is we are in a much different position than we were in 2006, even than 2012 when we started trying to find a solution to this. The city's in better financial position for whichever route we take. My hat's off to the city manager and to the former and current council members for that. I also really appreciate and hope every citizen appreciates the emphasis the city manager puts on protecting the city from bad contracts. and I sincerely thank you, whether we see eye to eye or not on how this goes. You've made it very clear you're going to do your best to keep the city from getting into a contract that would hurt us in the future. I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. Councilwoman De Lisla?
Thank you, Mayor Wolgast. I would like to start by thanking the staff for the spectacular work tonight in the presentation. It was lengthy. It was, it got positively heated at some points in time, but a lot of the questions that we all had, I feel got answered. Are all of the questions answered? Absolutely not. But I do want to reiterate to everybody that's watching out there, everybody serving here is human. And every single person sitting here is doing the best that they can. At this point in time, we are faced with a very difficult challenge that precedes most of us. And it's not about what happened then and what happened now. One of the things that I typically tell my employees in the office is the higher up you are in the food chain, the more expensive your mistakes are gonna be. And it's not about us falling, it's about knowing how we're going to get up and how we're going to move forward. So what are the facts here? The facts are very simple. We are looking at a potential $8.2 to a $10.6 million tax burden on our citizens. It's not about how we got there, it's the situation that we have at hand. What we're doing right now is ensuring that our contracts are very well taken care of and that we're trying to make the best decision possible so that the impact on our citizens is zero. It's not an easy decision, but we're doing the best that we can. And I really appreciate all the work that is being put forth and all the thoughtful consideration of every single person sitting on this council body. And most importantly, I want to thank all of the citizens that are paying attention. Very important. If you have questions, I would tell you, please call us. Call us. Call the city. Call us. Do not base yourself simply on what you hear in any media channel, because it is very interesting. And I am not saying that our media channels are not effective. However, they are not able to give you the whole picture because there's only so much space that they have. What I've noticed is that every single time that I have the opportunity to answer the question to a constituent with regards to what we understand, it is remarkable how I get a, now I understand, yes, I see, it is difficult, I understand where you're moving forward in this direction. So please be mindful. These meetings are here. You could watch them online. I know that not everybody can watch them online. We'll find ways to communicate with you, but communicate with us, because that's what we're here for. Finally, I would like to say thank you very much. The staff of the city, I had an accident leaving the meeting last Tuesday. The staff of the city has been spectacular, taking care of me. Council members have been amazing. I had Karen in the hospital with me. I had Richard in the hospital with me. I had Officer White, Lieutenant White in the hospital with me. Shane Lind, also from the police department. Just calls from everybody. I so appreciate your concern. All of you remind me why I'm serving. All of you remind me of the quality of individuals that we have make the city of Topeka. Let's focus on the positives. It's so easy to look at everything that's not working. Let's focus on the positives. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Jensen.
I would echo everything you say, and I want to again thank the staff for all your help in trying to get us to understand this incredibly complex issue. I feel like I have a much better understanding even now. So thank you for your time.
Councilwoman Schwartz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, I brought up the idea of doing a survey, and I know we don't have the time to get that done, but I wanted to commend Sasha Stiles for the survey that went out with a water bill that I thought was very good. Department of Neighborhood Relations, community survey, how would you invest $17.5 million? And it talks about, you know, that money coming from the feds and how it is to be spent. But I would encourage all city residents that get a water bill to turn this back in, because it's a very positive step in garnering input from city residents. And on a positive note, I want to say that we have several things going on this weekend. And tonight I understood we had a baby giraffe born at the zoo, and hopefully that all went real well. We've got Down and Dirty happening this weekend. I thought it was last weekend, but it is this weekend. So get out and keep America beautiful. The Combat Air Museum is having their pancake feed, and the plant sale at Ward Mead is this weekend. And yesterday I participated in the Holocaust Memorial service out at the Kansas History Museum, and it was an honor and a pleasure to be there and be known as a Topekan in our capital city. And the final thing I want to say is that Chief Greg Bailey is here, and this morning he didn't see me pass by, but I had a meeting with Bill Finder and Sasha, and I was watching him converse with a couple of residents, and I know he's even been under a lot of attack or issues or whatever this week in the paper, and yet he was carrying on such a good conversation. It was an elderly man, and he said to him, "What's your secret?" So I think we have a really good city staff, and I think we should talk more about the positive things that are happening. Thank you.
Councilman Cohen.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank you guys for your presentation. Sorry I had a prior business commitment. This is really drinking from the fire hose. Please come to the town hall meetings. April 28th at 6 at the library, April 29th at the Holiday Building at 11 a.m. I think the only way that we're able to truly digest everything is if we hear it more than once. So, thank you.
Thank you. That completes our announcements. Next, we have public comment. We have two persons who have signed to speak. The first is Jay Tuckness. I don't see Mr. Tuckness. We'll go to the second person, is Rick Taylor.
Hi, I'm Rick Taylor from here in Topeka, born and raised.
Yes.
Just want to thank you for a chance to speak. I know a lot of you are, well, 4 of you are at least new. And my prime interest, of course, is the racetrack. I think it's something that the community needs. It's complex. It's terrible. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. I've never followed an issue like this deeply, this long, and still waiting for an answer. But I hope you all come up with a positive answer. That's all I can ask. Thanks a lot. Good night.
Thank you for your comments. That concludes public comment. There is no executive session, so there being no other business, the meeting is adjourned. How do you say your last name? What's